Um, so, there's a very completely oversimplified, because there's a lot of details to it. But, an oversimplified view of what Marx said about the state and all is that the state reinforces uh, material relative scarcity. So that means making sure that there's scarcity, that folks don't necessarily have access to all the things that they need, right? And by doing so, that benefits the ruling class, because then people that need things have to get them from you. They have to buy it from you or whatever, because you can't just find it wherever you want, right? You've got to get it from the source. There's only a small amount of it, or relatively small. And capitalism grew out of those old feudal systems at all, to become a type of society that manages the affairs of the owning class, of this ruling class. And in particular, that the highest form of that type of state is the democratic republic that we live in today. That is the kind of the pinnacle that allows the wealthy to still essentially control the state and the economy, but kind of do it a little bit more from the shadows, so that they're not kind of directly exposed to danger, sort of thing, right? So that's kind of what we're up against. And so the state and capitalism are always compelled to continually grow wealth. And the only way they could do that is by taking wealth from the workers. And so eventually the workers have to respond to that, right? And create their own worker state, as he called it, that would dismantle capitalism and eventually create, a socialist type of society over time.
They hadn't figured out MMT yet.
Right. So, like I said, this is extremely oversimplified. I'm sure there's going to be people that jump in and say, "Oh, you didn't mention this or you didn't mention that." I'm not trying to have like a comprehensive thing. Just some basic terminology here, so that you know what we're talking about, for folks that are honestly new to it.
Well, and even this idea of ecosocialism is a relatively new idea. I mean, within decades new, as opposed to centuries, right? But Kohei Saito wrote Karl Marx's Ecosocialism, right? And so he was Marx started to see the climate aspects and these larger things as it evolved.
Yeah, some people did. So that there's an interesting history there. So in any case, that's what we're talking about here. When we say kind of a Marxist analysis, it's essentially this outline, and there's more details to it, but it's capitalism and the ruling class versus the working class.